What's going on, everybody? Dr. Thompson here with Exemplify Health Center, a Wellness Way affiliate, right here in Yorkville, Illinois. Happy Monday, the day before the election. Hope everybody is doing great. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Happy Halloween weekend. Hopefully you guys didn't eat too much candy. All right. So, hey, I'm going to call an audible, if that's okay. And I want to talk to you something different than what I was going to talk about tonight. So originally I was going to talk about, will the holidays lead you to diabetes, or Wilford Brimley, who says diabetes. So I want to talk to you about that, but I think, if that's okay, guys, I want to talk to you about that next week. All right, so I'll talk to you about next week, because I'm going to talk about how we look at diabetes from the Wellness Way perspective a whole heck of a lot differently than what they do as far as traditional management of diabetes, type 2 diabetes especially, when it comes to medicine. So instead, I wanted to talk about, in fact, I forgot that I wanted to talk about this, and I think this is a perfect time to talk about what I want to talk about. And it really has to do with what's going on in today's narrative with COVID-19, about illness, sickness, catching a virus, and things like that. And so I want to give you a different perspective about that. But to give you a different perspective, I'll tell you a story that has everything to do with me. And hopefully, guys, if you find value in this, make sure you please share this with other people about the perspective that I'm going to come from. All right. So, as you know, cases are going way up. All right. But like hospitalizations, deaths, things like that, aren't necessarily going up. All right. So, they're talking about the second wave. And guys, it's not really even a second wave. It's just probably your first exposure to a virus that you have never seen before. All right. So it's not really a second wave, but I'm going to talk about why people think it's a second wave. But in order for you guys to understand this, I want to talk to you about something very personal to me. And this was the sickest time of my life, all right? So this is the sickest time of my life. And I want to tell you of a time that I thought I literally was going to die, all right? And this actually goes back, gosh, I don't even want to say how long ago it was, but this was when I was in postgraduate school, in chiropractic school, all right? So I think I had about a year left before I was set to graduate. So I'm going to say this, I think it was 18 years ago. And I developed walking pneumonia, okay? Walking pneumonia, and it was bad. So I was sick for a whole entire 6 weeks. It was viral, couldn't do anything with a virus. And in fact, I wanted to actually beat it without going on any kind of medications or drugs or anything like that. And then I later found out, hey, you can't really take any drugs for a virus anyway. And so 18 years ago, I had viral walking pneumonia. And let me tell you something, I have never felt worse in my life. So I had 6 weeks of having a fever that came and went. So it was like I'd have a fever for 2 or 3 days. It would go away, and it would come back. It would go away. I developed a terrible, terrible cough. And in fact, I didn't get a good night's sleep for over 6 weeks. So here I am for 6 weeks, fever, chills. I even had diarrhea mixed in with it. I felt absolutely horrible, and I couldn't sleep because I was coughing so badly. So I would go into these coughing fits literally for like an hour at a time. So I don't think I slept more consecutively than maybe for 45 minutes to an hour for a whole entire 6 weeks. So I got to the point where I'm like, am I ever going to get better? Am I ever going to get better? And I don't know if you guys have ever been to that point where you're just like, I don't know if I'm ever going to get better, or I don't know if I'm going to ever get over this. But that was definitely me, when I was 23, 24 years of age. It was bad, all right? If I ever thought that was a time for me to die, it was then, all right? But I want you to think about this, is I couldn't take time off. I couldn't afford to, because I still had to go to school. I still had to work. I still had to be in clinic. I still had to get everything done. Life wasn't going to stop for me to try to get better. So I had to just keep going and just kind of grunt through it. But I want to tell you something, is that I want you to be very, very certain that this was not something that attacked me. I wasn't a perfectly healthy individual, and then all of a sudden I had a virus that attacked my lungs to give me viral pneumonia or walking pneumonia and caused me to be sick for 6 weeks and feel absolutely miserable with a fever and with a cough for that 6 weeks. It wasn't that something attacked me, okay? The reason why is this, is the time that I was the sickest in my life, there was no pandemic. There was no flu virus going around. There was no COVID-19 virus going around. In fact, heck, my roommates, people around me, they actually stayed perfectly healthy. It was me that got absolutely obliterated by a virus that my body should have been able to handle it. So I remember this, and I was just like, I don't know if I'm ever going to get better from this. It just felt like it took forever. But then I remember I wanted to share with you what I was doing at that time to cause my immune response to be actually so poor. So I want you to think about it. So I look back, and this was the time, and there's been times where I've been pretty sick, but this was like the worst, all right? So this was what I was doing during that time for, in some cases, many years leading up to it. In some cases, 2 to 3 months leading up to it. So the first thing that I was doing was I was sleeping on average of about 4 hours a night. Here's a reason why. And when you are in chiropractic school, most people don't realize this, but you take 30 credit hours. So when you're an undergrad, you take anywhere from, maybe 12 up to 18, usually tops. And I would take 30 credit hours. And the reason why is you go to school literally year round. So you don't take semesters. You have 3 trimesters. So you're in school for about 46, 47 weeks out of the year. You're taking 30 hours. So here I was. I'm taking 30 credit hours, which also means that you also have to study for 30 credit hours, which means that, you're spending on average about 50 to 60 hours a week going to school and or, studying, or a combination of that. On top of that, though, I started in the student clinic. So the student clinic, we had to get so many number of patients that were seen. So I had to get all of those numbers and be able to see so many in the student clinic, so many patients in order to be able to move on into the clinic to actually see people coming in from the outside. So I had to get all of those numbers as well. We were taking radiology, so I had to do all of my labs for radiologies was another couple hours a week as well. And then on top of that, if that wasn't enough, I was actually teaching. So I was teaching like extremities and things like that 2 times a night for about 3 hours. So that was adding about another 6 hours. So I was probably spending a good 80 to 85 hours every single week just grinding it out, trying to get through, all that. And I knew what I was doing was not good for me. But it ended up I would only get about 4 hours of sleep. I'd get to bed probably about 2 in the morning. I'd have to wake up at 6, and I did that every single day. So number one, for about 2 months leading up to it, I was not sleeping enough. Number two, full disclosure, because I was doing so much studying and everything like that, I really didn't care about making any kind of good food. Full honesty. I think most people that are in some kind of postgraduate school, medical school, chiropractic school, osteopathic school, they do not focus on great nutrition. It's just one of those times where you're just trying to get through. And on top of that, I needed something really cheap, and I needed something that I could have right away. So I ate every day fast food and ramen noodles. Fast food in the morning, ramen noodles for lunch, usually fast food at night. So here I am eating literally glue and wheat and water, basically is what it was, and then some really bad fast food every single day. Number three, super high stress, all right? It is high stress. I was trying to maintain a 4.0. I don't know why I wanted to do that, but I always prided myself in getting great grades, and so I put the stress of trying to get a 4.0 and getting all of this stuff done. Number four, I was adjusted by students, all right? So, that's probably worse than actually getting adjusted. Not getting adjusted is getting adjusted by students, because what we would do is we would just bang on each other's necks all the time and probably causing some level of irreparable damage to like the ligaments and disc structures around the spine. So there was a lot of neurological stress that was going on. And then number five, No supplements. I didn't take any supplements. None. Zero. Zilch. Not even vitamin D. So I just basically, when you look at this, the sickest time of my life, it was something that was 100% my doing. All right. Was there a pandemic going around? No, there was none of that going around. And yet I still got sick. And why did I get sick? Because I didn't take care of myself. I allowed my immune responses to get really down, to not be fed with good nutrition, very high amount of inflammation, high amount of stress, high amount of cortisol, high amount of just my immune system just absolutely getting obliterated for years, really, but then really getting exacerbated with the sleep and the increased stress I was going through at that time. And all of that stuff really just brought down my immune system to the point where literally any virus was going to make me sick. So here I am. I was sick for 6 weeks. It was horrible. It's terrible. But again, there was no pandemic. So the thing is guys, that a pandemic does not make you sick, all right? This virus that we're dealing with is not human. Do not give it human characteristics. Do not say, this virus, we don't know about it. Man, it just does some really crazy things. Guys, it does not do crazy things. In order for any virus to take hold inside of your body, it needs a sick host. I was a sick host, and this virus got into my lungs, and it started to replicate and have a field day inside of me because my immune responses were so low that I couldn't handle it before it just went full out inside of my body. And then my immune responses after that were so bad that I couldn't actually get rid of the virus. Within about 14 days, it would took me about 6 weeks. Okay, so, but things this is now we say, oh my gosh, look at this COVID-19. It is a really bad virus. It is not human. It's not evil. It is like any other virus. It needs a host, and in this case, it's your lung tissue, or it can be your gastrointestinal tissue, depending on the virus. So it needs something to attach to, and it needs a cell in order to be able to replicate it. And the strength of that virus is only determined by the strength of the host. So guys, the only reason why I got sick was because I was a weakened host. Because guys, if a virus was truly deadly, then every person who would get it would die from the virus. So think about this. If 1,000 people get a virus and one person dies, so if 1,000 people get it and one person dies, why don't we ask the question instead of 999 of taking away specific rights versus saying, you know what, let's help that one person. Let's figure out why that one person was severely impacted by a virus versus punishing the other 999. So whose fault was it? Let me ask you a question. Whose fault was it during the sickest time of my life? Did I blame the virus? No. And in fact, I blamed myself. So guys, your immune system response is 100% up to you. It's up to you. And if you don't know how to increase your immune system response, then learn. You can ask, reach out to me, and I'll help you to see what you can do in order to help improving your immune system responses. But guys, quit running around thinking that you are getting attacked by a virus. A virus is not attacking you. They're everywhere, and they're looking for a host that is weakened. Okay? And the only reason why you're going to get sick is because you as a person is weakened and your immune responses are weakened as well. And this is why even despite that, 99.95% of people, even still, despite that, they still recover from COVID-19. So the question is why isn't that 5 out of 1,000, why are they not recovering? And what are they doing in order to weaken their immune system responses? Are these people getting enough sleep? I don't know. Are they eating a bunch of fast food and a bunch of high sugar food, a bunch of high insulin food? Are they taking blood pressure medications? Are they insulin? Are they type 2 diabetic? Are they taking insulin? Are they insulin resistant? What about their stress? What about, are they taking the right supplements? Are they even getting adjusted, guys? Getting adjusted will improve the immune system response. It is well documented. Just make sure that you have a professional who's actually doing it and not students. And so the thing is this, is that when I look back, guys, on the sickest time of my life, I can say it was my fault. And that should be really good news for you. And you know why that's good news? Because if it's your fault, it also means that you can change it. Is that you don't need to go around living in fear, wearing a mask, thinking that the boogeyman is going to come after you and is going to attack you and is going to kill you, and is only going to choose maybe you, but maybe it will pass by. Just like in the Old Testament, how it passed by the doors who actually had blood on the doors, all right? So, so hopefully, guys, that makes sense. So rather than try to weaken the environment, to try to suit a weakened person, why don't we strengthen people? Why don't we start strengthening people so that they can withstand any environment, including COVID-19? Now, I know, like, when you look online, I've seen just some nasty things that have been said, almost to the point where I'm just like, I don't even get involved with it anymore. But I have seen this actually a lot. And give me a thumbs up if you have heard people say this, or, you know, they write this, on social media in the comments and things like that, because I've had people tell me this as well. But they say, well, if you refuse to wear a mask and you refuse to socially distance, like the experts are telling me, then you should be refused any medical care for it, okay? I have seen that a lot. And let me tell you something. If you said that, you need to be quiet. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And I'm going to tell you why. Because they say, hey, you know what? If you refuse to wear a mask, if you get sick, then the medical doctor should refuse to take care of you, okay? Let me show you the exact same level of thinking. This is the same level of thinking. Well, if you then, Mary, refuse to eat healthy, get adjusted, avoid stress, sleep 8 hours a night, and exercise daily, if you refuse to do that, then you should be refused medical care when you get type 2 diabetes, or when you have a heart attack, or when you have a stroke, or if you even get cancer. Because, guys, all of these things have a huge, huge lifestyle component to it. So just because someone doesn't feel like they should wear a mask, just because they don't feel like that they should have to be responsible for the protection of everyone else, because remember, if someone's got a weakened immune system, it's their fault. It's their issue, whether they're knowingly doing it or whether they're unknowingly doing it. So if they refuse to do that, if they refuse to do the things that get them healthy, then how would that make you feel if the doctor said, well, I'm going to refuse actually doing any kind of care for you because you have refused to do the things necessary in order to prevent disease in the first place? You see, the thing that's so crazy is that people think that things like heart disease or cancer or type 2 diabetes, or for anything for that matter, they think there is no lifestyle component to it, and that they think that it is all based on genetics, okay? That it's all genetics. My immune system, my strength of it, it's genetics. Whether I'm going to have heart disease, cancer, whether I'm going to be overweight, it's genetics. We blame everything on genetics, and that is the lazy person. I refuse to actually think at any level higher than a second grader because I just want to be comfortable. So guys, hey, you know what? I actually think of this. If you refuse to wear a mask and you get sick, even if you have a compromised immune system, then you should actually get all the medical care that you need. I also believe that if you refuse to eat healthy, get adjusted, sleep enough, and exercise, and not exercise, avoid stress, if you choose to have a bad lifestyle and you get heart disease, and you get cancer, or you get type 2 diabetes, I feel like the doctors should do everything that they can in order to help save your life. I'm 100% for it. You never should deny any kind of care. However, the problem that I do have is that I should have to pay for it. See, I shouldn't have to give taxes to pay for other people's bad decisions. If I want to have bad decisions, then I'm the one that should have to pay for it, not other people paying for your bad decisions. So, let me ask you guys a question. It comes down to this: care or responsibility? It comes down to care or responsibility. See, a lot of times in our office, I'll tell you full disclosure, we do not wear masks. We have lost patients because we haven't worn a mask. We've actually got patients because we don't wear masks here in this office. And but a lot of times when people come in, they're like, well, why don't you wear a mask? Don't you care about so-and-so? Don't you care about grandma? Don't you care about this person? And in all honesty, I actually say, yeah, 100% I do care. I do care for grandma. I do care for auntie. I do care for that person. However, I will tell you that I do not take responsibility for them. And there's a difference. See, you can care without being responsible. Because ultimately, when it comes to our health, when it comes to your health, when it comes to my health, is that I'm responsible for my health, you're responsible for your health. Because here's what I can't do for you. I can't make you eat better. I can't force you to come to the office to get adjusted. I can't force you to take specific supplements when you have a deficiency. I can't force you to go to the gym and exercise. I can't force you to do anything. I care if you do it. I want you to do it. I want to see you get better. But ultimately, if you choose not to do that, I cannot be responsible for your poor decisions. And guys, whether you realize it or not, you've done that with your kids because you care if your children make the right decisions. You really do. You care. You want them to make the right decisions. But ultimately, at some point, is that you have to be able to shift the responsibility onto them and not take the full responsibility for their bad decisions. And that's the truth, is that all of us, we can care. And this is why we do live videos. This is why we give so much stuff away. This is why we spend time together. This is why we do workshops. This is why we do that, because we care. But we also don't take responsibility for you getting sick. Because remember, it's not our responsibility, it's your responsibility for you. So let me ask you a question. Are you learning? Are you growing? It has now been 8 months or so. What have you done to improve your immune system? What have you done? You have had 8 months to learn and to grow with me, but what have you done? Are you still the same? And if you're still the same 8 months later, guess what? It is no wonder there is a second wave. Because the reality is that rather than just let yourself get healthy through exposure, you have sheltered, you have masked, and now your immune system is worse than ever before. And in reality, it's not a second wave, it's a first exposure to something that you tried to protect yourself from, and you will never, ever be able to protect yourself from any virus because they're everywhere. And just like 18 years ago, when I was the sickest I had ever been, I was ripe for sickness, illness, and disease. But I will always say this, when I get sick, it's my fault because I'm not doing what's necessary to help build a sufficient immune system responses. So tell me, guys, what are you guys doing? What are you guys doing? Are you taking responsibility for your health? And what are you doing in order to improve your immune system during this time of year? Because just remember this, there's no such thing as a flu season. A virus does not decide to wake up and attack people at Christmas time because it's the Grinch. The reason why is only because you become more susceptible to a virus. And why is that? Because you are losing vitamin D. You're not going outside. You just had Halloween. You just dumped a bunch of sugar, which interferes with vitamin C absorption inside of your body. Okay? It interferes with vitamin C absorption. Okay? Makes yourself a lot more susceptible to bacterial infections when you are on sugar, taking sugar, eating sugar. So are you stressed out at this time of the year? Are you getting enough sleep? So guys, it's not a flu season. It's not a COVID season. The reason why is because you are more susceptible. Because again, you are not going above and beyond in order to improve your immune responses during this time of year. And this is why we will see a quote unquote second wave during this time of year, because really all it is people are getting knocked down and they're becoming immunocompromised because they're not taking responsibility when it comes to their health. So next week, guys, I'll go over with you, will your bad holiday habits lead to type 2 diabetes? And I'll show you the difference between our approach and between medicine's approach when it comes to type 2 diabetes. But I appreciate you guys saying some awesome things. So week 4 on no sugar. Guys, I just finished up no sugar. And interestingly enough, I decided to parlay this November into actually detox. So I am doing detox right now with a lot of easy absorbable proteins, some milk thistle, some schisandra, some dandelion root, and I am actually tonight, I am feeling it big time. So I will be doing doing a 30-day detox, mainly because my liver needs it. I see some elevated liver numbers, that are going on with me, so I'm like, all right, it's time to do it. So I'll let you know how, guys, that goes. But let me know, guys, what are you guys doing in order to improve your immune responses during this time of year? Are you building yourself stronger, or are you living in fear and making yourself weaker and just setting yourself up for the second wave? So hopefully, guys, this makes sense. Leave a comment, share this with other people, please. We always appreciate it. And just as an FYI, coming up for November and December, we're going to be doing something really awesome called the 12 Days of Christmas, in which we're going to be giving stuff away for 12 days leading up to Christmas. Over $2,000 worth of stuff that we are giving away. Yes, when we get punched in the mouth, we hit back harder with giving and love, because remember, we care, but we are not responsible. All right? So guys, I love you, appreciate you a ton. Thank you guys for sharing this in advance. Hope you guys have a great Monday, and maybe we'll jump on later in the week if we're still alive after this election. I don't know. What do you think? All right, guys, be well. We'll see you soon.